Welcome back guys, GTS Garage. Today we are going to look at fitting a top box. Now I don't want to get into the whys and wherefores and why I chose to do the tri-up top box rather than a givey top box and just make a universal mount, because you can waffle on all day about that and there are pros and cons and it is down to personal preference at the end of the day. So in this episode I am going to be fitting a standard powered Triumph top box to the Trophy or Triumph Trophy. And I'm going to go from step by step. So it's, for a lot of people, it will look very basic, but the aim is to supply someone with very little knowledge of, or very little experience on fitting these things. It goes through a step-by-step process how to mount the entire thing. So with that said, let's crack on. Okay, so these are the bits that I got in the kit. Now I got the full thing, so I got the powered back box, I got the colour-coded lid, I got the Triumph sliding plate, the backrest, and with that came all these parts. So you get replacement bolts for the sliding mounts, you get 3 screws which I don't know what to do with yet, you also get a cable tie. You get, that's to do with the power, that's how you power it up, my understanding, isn't it? It will all make sense, I'm sure. That is a bar that goes at the bottom of the rack, I'm sure it'll all become evident, and then you've got a couple of plastic pieces, and then you have a relay. So that is, oh, and you also get this this kind of grommet here. But that is it, that's all you get, so how difficult can it be? Okay, so if you are not buying the motorcycle brand new, your chances are you've not had the lock, the spare lock given to you at the time you purchased the motorcycle. So if you buy a separate top box, you are going to have to order a new set of barrels. Now for this one, I don't mind and having a separate key, because that means I can sell this one separately if I'm going to trade it in with a dealer, because you're not going to get that much money, and given how much these cost, I'd rather have a separate key that doesn't start the bike, take the whole thing off before selling the bike, and sell this as a separate unit. So basically these locks, you buy them, they're £37, they're from Triumph, they give you 2 keys with it, so you can see that's basically what you get, 2 keys and 3 ignition barrels, or sorry, 3 luggage lock barrels. So they only fit in that one direction, so that basically won't be there. So they'll only fit in one direction, so don't be too worried about it. Don't do what I did and be too worried about it. So just fit it in, the lock part goes at the bottom, you push it in and it clicks shut. And then once it's in there, you can then just slot the key in, and then it basically, so that's basically how it works. The usual way, exactly the same as the panniers. So when these turn up already locked, so you're not able to put the cover on until you fitted the barrels. Okay, so basically the colour coded comes as a separate unit which you pay for extra. Slide it on top. It comes with the screws that you need to put together. Okay. So, okay, the first step on installing the top box is to remove the negative connection from the battery. So to do this, on the right hand side of the bike, you need a 5mm Allen, and we'll just take the out of here. This is quite a simple task, this one, and we're just going to pull up and back, and that will reveal the battery on the right hand side of the bike. Put these to one side. With the cover exposed, we're going to use a 10mm socket just to remove the negative side of the battery. I'm going to take that off, so we're not going to cause any damage as we start playing around with electrics at the back of the bike. So that's the negative one taped off, so I know it's not going to make an accidental connection. And now we're going to move to the back of the bike. Using a 5mm Allen, we're now going to take the 3 bolts off the back of the cover plate. And we're going to remove the rear seat. So for the next steps, you are going to need a 13mm socket, and you are going to need a size 30 Torx. So we're going to start with taking the 6 bolts out of here, and we're going to take the one that you can't see at the moment. So let's just start. Take the 30 Torx. So with that last bolt removed, we're now going to remove, so sliding forward and removing this and putting it somewhere where you're not going to tread on it. Okay, so the seats have been removed, and we've removed the last, the rear rack. So we're now going to remove the pannier on the left and the right hand side and put them somewhere safe. With the panniers removed, we're now going to work on the back of the bike. We're going to remove the panels. Now, the guide says to remove 2 side panels and to remove the rear on the left hand side. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the Allen bolts up there. So there's a bolt, bolt, bolt. There's a 3, and that will reveal some more without a doubt. This rear panel, you have to lie down on the floor, unfortunately, and you need these 3 plugs. That makes sense. So you've got one there, and one there. So they're using a screwdriver. See this one because it's the only one I'm going to be doing. So this is basically, you just pull them out with your fingers. So once you've taken the bolt out the middle, you get your fingernails or a screwdriver underneath it, you just prise it and it basically just comes out, simple as that. Okay, so with the plugs removed, you now just take a 5mm Allen and just break the don't break anything, remove the last Allen bolt from there, put it somewhere safe, and then you should be able to lift the side panel off completely. So in summary, I have removed the panniers, I've removed the seats, the rear grab rails. That assembly is now gone. I've taken the side cover and the rear cover off the left hand side of the bike, and on the right hand side of the bike I have removed the side panel only. So first step is to take the clamp which they provide, and it makes sense that it would go that way up. Well, it looks like it should go that way, but it doesn't. So with the bolts facing out, and we are going to use the fir tree clip that comes in a cute little Triumph bag. We're going to use the fir tree clip to secure in place. So step one. Okay, so the next step is to locate the power for the back box, and that is the frame. Now the way to do this is underneath the main thing. Hopefully you can see that. Underneath here you've got a little tab, so you need to push that in and then you can pull that up. That releases it. Keep hold of this because you may need it again in future. Not now, but if you ever take the back box off, you'll need that to put that on top. The next step is to remove the plug from the back of the power outlet. So the easiest way to do it is to get on the rear of it. So what you're doing is you're going to be pushing into there. That is just lift it up and then bring it out. We keep hold of this as well because we may need it in future. Okay, this part isn't an exact science, but what you need to do is you need to feed two things at once. So, how to do this? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is actually feed the... Are you able to see that? So we're going to take the luggage rack and we are going to feed that through. Now there are different ways to get this done. But basically what you need is that grommet at the end to fit that hole there. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is to take the end of that cable. Okay, take the end of that cable and we need to feed that through the harness, through the subframe over here at the back. Just feed that through. Make that come up. Okay, so you've got the end of that and we're going to plug that into there. Done. Now we're going to pull through there and we are going to fit this back into the position. It should be okay. So just make sure you can see. And then we're going to push the cable back and we're going to fit the grommet in. So it's just one of those rubber sealants. They should just go in quite easily and that's your lot. So once we have the cable coming through the back of the rear, what I'm going to call a rack, what we're going to do is bring the whole thing forward, not to stretch the cable but just to bring it forward so we have access to the rear, and then we are able to put the rear cover back on. So we do not want to install this without putting that rear cover back on, otherwise you won't be able to do it. Okay, so when putting this rear panel back on, remember there are two tiny little clips. See these? These go behind the side panel. Okay, so when you put them in, you need to hook them on first, and that kind of levers everything into position. So apologies if you can't see, it is a little bit dark at this end of the garage, but basically what I'm going to do is now put the side panel on, or fix the side panel on. Step is to put the Torx one back on. It's only one way it can go, so it's just a case of lifting it up or offering the back of it up to the front and then just to nip that up. Okay, not going to tighten anything up at this point, we're just going to leave everything fairly loose, and then we're going to put the bolts back in to this and fix this back on. Okay, so basically the cable comes, if you can see that, comes from out the back, over the top and into the back of there. Okay, so with the connector in place now, you've got basically a hole there, the connectors go in which line up a second hole. This is now going to be your third, so you're just going to pinch the wire slightly together and put that block over, and that kind of just sits on top. Then we take a screw, and that basically goes through all, that basically goes through the connector block and the lid, and we just tighten that down. There you go. You then take this and we put that onto there. That's the wire, and we just take our two torques, and we're going to put that one in there, that one in there. So basically what we're going to do is take the cable tie that is which is given. We're just going to make sure it slots on the inside of the cable, and we're just going to pull the cable inside this groove. So once you're doing it, it'll actually make sense. So basically all we're doing is keeping the cable on the inside of that so it doesn't drop down. Let's put this in. There we go. And I'm not going to tighten that up at the moment, because what I want to do is make sure I get the right length of cable still coming out the other end. Okay, so with the side panel back on, we're now going to put this back into place. So we've already fed the wire through the hole, and we're going to put as much wire through this as we possibly can. If you leave too much wire on the other side of this plate, you run the risk of trapping it when you put these bolts back in. So pull as much through as you possibly can, and then, because you can always feed it in to tidy it up afterwards, but at this point you want to pull as much cable through, and you just want to put the two bolts on this side and the two at the front. You get too short and too long here, so the two long go at the front, so we'll just put those in, and the two short go at the back, and the two short bolts go at the back, the two longer bolts go at the front. So the last part is the relay. So the relay you get with the kit, so you basically plug it. There is one spare slot there, you can't really go wrong, it can't go anywhere else. So basically you line it all up and then just push it home, and that is that part then done, and then we put the side panel back on. Okay, now going to put the luggage back on, we're now going to put the seats back on. Okay guys, that is it. The top box is now on. I think this is going to be a fairly long video, but as I said, I wanted to make sure that I captured the essential part of putting the top box on for those that have never done anything like it. Now this is not my own guide. I got this guide from the Triumph Trophy, and I will put a link to the entire guide in the description below. Now I would thoroughly recommend actually going to that site, downloading or printing off this guy's instructions, because it is a very detailed method of doing it. All I've done is I've just put that onto video, because some people enjoy watching the video rather than reading through a 1 or 2 page description on how to do it. Now the guide uses the Triumph steps, and obviously mine will include his guide and the Triumph steps. kind of merged into one video. So you may find this useful, but I would thoroughly recommend having a read of the original guide as well. Need to say the guy's done the work. He's put the hard work in and come up with that guide first. All I've done is gone through his guide, The Triumph, and created a video. So please give the guy kudos, because he was the one that actually came up with that way of doing it. So with that said, that is the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. And you take care of yourselves, and I shall see you on the road soon. Bye bye.